operation delivers more than just supplies. He said it brings the spirit of compassion that defines the Christmas season. A spokesperson for the operation says crews will fly Christmas drop until Friday alongside.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Paul Graney. The Federal Reserve will announce its latest interest rate decision this afternoon. What to expect? Lower prices, higher wages, and new tax cuts. President Trump lays out what he calls a turning point for the economy as he visits Pennsylvania to launch his national tour. Eileen Higgins wins Miami's mayoral race and will become the city's first Democratic mayor in nearly 3 decades. How her win is giving Democrats a boost ahead of the midterms. A federal judge today ordering the Trump administration to temporarily end its deployment of the National Guard in Los Angeles. He said there was no obstruction of federal law. Some visitors to the U.S. could face new hurdles. Customs and Border Protection is proposing that some applicants submit up to 5 years of social media history and expanded personal data. A new development in the Jeffrey Epstein saga. A federal judge today approving the unsealing of documents from the probe and criminal prosecution of the accused sex trafficker.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
And it's great to have you here this Wednesday afternoon. A federal judge today ordering that the Trump administration temporarily end its deployment of the National Guard in Los Angeles and return control of the Guard to the state of California. In a lengthy written order, Judge Charles Breyer decided there was no evidence that federal law was being obstructed in Los Angeles. The judge rejected the Justice Department's argument that since the initial deployment was lawful, the court could not review subsequent redeployments of those troops. Breyer said the president's power to call up the National Guard for federal service is not an exclusive power and that it can be checked by a judge. Governor Newsom had argued that 2 subsequent 90-day deployments, which extended the presence of the 30 guards until February 2nd, 2026, were unjustified. Breyer agreed. The judge declined to grant Newsom's request that all future federalizations of troops be automatically blocked and instructed him to challenge any future deployments in court. And the Trump administration is changing lanes into a trucking industry crackdown. Here's more.
In a post on X this morning, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said 9,500 truck drivers have been pulled off the road for not speaking English. President Trump issued an executive order this spring calling for common sense rules of the road for U.S. truckers. The DOT followed up with new guidelines prompting inspectors to pull drivers who didn't speak enough English. And Secretary Duffy tried to limit commercial driver's licenses for foreign-born applicants, but a federal court has paused that initiative. We'll be keeping you updated.
And some visitors to the U.S. could experience a new hurdle. A new CBP proposal which would require applicants from countries in the visa waiver program to disclose up to 5 years of social media history. The condition would apply to those using the Electronic System for Travel Authorization, or ESTA. The plan would also collect additional data when available. That includes phone numbers used in the past 5 years, email addresses from the last decade, and would also require several biometric identifiers such as facial, fingerprint, and DNA and iris information. Applicants would be further asked to provide details about family members, and the proposal is up for a 60-day public comment period. ESTA allows travelers from nations to visit the U.S. for up to 90 days. Some immigration attorneys warn that the expanded requirements could discourage travel and online expression. And now an update on the surviving National Guardsman, one of 2 who were shot in D.C. while on patrol. President Trump said yesterday the injured man is progressing in his recovery.
And today I got a call that he got up from bed. Do you believe that? He got up. He got up. Now, he didn't speak. He's not ready for that yet. He got hit in the head. But he got up, and boy, they're so happy. It's amazing. And the care that they've given him at the hospital, and the generals that have been there, the military that's been there, it's amazing.
Now, Guardsman Andy Wolf's mom posted online that her son had brought a plastic cup to his mouth to drink and was breathing without a ventilator. Wolf and Guardsman Sarah Beckstrom were ambushed as they patrolled a subway station 3 blocks from the White House on November 26th. Beckstrom died from her injuries the next day. A 29-year-old Afghan national has been charged with the murder. He's pleaded not guilty. He was also shot during the confrontation. And a holiday gift from a divided Federal Reserve Committee. It has delivered one more rate cut for the year to a range between 3.5 to 3.75%. This was a tough call for Fed officials. They're in disagreement over which side of their dual mandate to prioritize: full employment or stable prices. Job growth this year has been unusually weak. Several officials have said that the situation could get worse if they don't continue to lower rates. Other officials said that the greater risk is that inflation will stay stuck above the Fed's 2% target as tariffs pack a bigger punch. Added pressure to this decision was a lack of key data on employment and inflation for October and November. These were delayed by the historic government shutdown. This month's meeting marks the last before Powell's successor will be named. His term ends in May, and President Trump said he knows who he's going to nominate and plans to make the announcement early next year. And the president hits the road, making his case on affordability. Speaking to an energetic crowd in Pennsylvania yesterday, President Trump said his administration is driving down the cost of living nationwide. NTD's Daniel Monahan has the key takeaways.
Thousands braved freezing temperatures, standing in a line that wrapped around the Mount Airy Casino and Resort in Mount Pocono. An overflow room had to be opened after the main ballroom filled to capacity. The president told the crowd that his administration is bringing prices down rapidly.
And I have no higher priority than making America affordable again. That's what we're going to do. And again, they caused the high prices, and we're bringing them down. It's a simple message.
He pointed to groceries, including butter, eggs, fruit, pasta, and rice, as well as gasoline.
We're right now drilling more oil than we've ever done ever before. Prices are way down. We just had 4 states. It was just reported that 4 states had $1.99 a gallon. Right?
The White House says deregulation is also helping lower costs by removing Biden-era climate-related restrictions, saving Americans $180 billion collectively, averaging about $2,100 for a family of 4.
We have more oil and gas than any country anywhere in the world. Is that right? And they want us to go to batteries. Let's go to batteries. We don't have battery content. So let's go to batteries.
Trump also said coal mining is up by 2.4 million tons a month and that steel production is rebounding.
We're building steel mills all over the country, and U.S. Steel is coming back at a level never thought possible before.
The president touted rising real wages under his administration.
Under Biden, real wages plummeted by $3,000 a year. Under Trump, the typical factory worker has already seen their wages increase by more than $1,300, and that's in just a few months. And for construction workers, it's $1,800 up versus $3,500 down.
He described efforts to tame inflation, which surged during the pandemic and under President Biden to as high as 9.1%. The Bureau of Labor Statistics puts the current rate at 2.7%. Trump also highlighted declining mortgage rates, though he urged Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell to lower interest rates further. Looking ahead, the president says more relief is on the way. Tax cuts in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, he noted, will reduce tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security benefits. The law is projected to boost tax refunds by roughly $1,000 per filer. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And a federal judge in Manhattan today ordered the public release of records from a grand jury investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. The decision reverses the judge's denial of an August DOJ request to unseal the grand jury materials. At that time, Richard Berman, the judge, cited possible threats to victims' safety and privacy. but now he stated that the release is warranted because of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which President Trump signed into law last month. Berman's order comes one day after another judge granted a similar request in the case of Ghislaine Maxwell, who is in prison for sex trafficking underage girls with Epstein. And Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins announcing an initiative today promoting regenerative agriculture. Rollins said the department would invest $700 million into the program.
Protecting and improving the health of our soil is critical, not only for the future viability of farmland, but to the future success of American farmers. In order to continue to be the most productive and most efficient growers in the world, we must protect our topsoil from unnecessary erosion and boost the microbiome of the soil.
Rollins said the program would prioritize American farmers as part of the Make America Healthy Again agenda. The Agriculture Secretary added that the initiative will support access to domestically grown whole foods. Rollins called whole foods critical to addressing the chronic disease crisis nationwide. She added that the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production would extend regenerative priorities into cities and urban areas. And Secretary of War Pete Hegseth meeting with his counterparts from the UK and Australia. Hegseth praised the alliance between the three nations.
A continued commitment to a pragmatic, practical application of hard power between our countries that reflect peace through strength and also hard power, real capabilities that demonstrate a deterrent effect that we all want. We may lead our departments of war, ministers of defense, but our goal is peace on behalf of the American people, the Australian people, and the UK, and we pursue that together on behalf of our leadership.
All three officials offered condolences to the family of a UK service member killed in Ukraine. The UK's Keir Starmer said the paratrooper was killed away from the front lines while observing Ukrainian forces test new defense capability. Hegseth also said the relationships between the three nations are strong and that President Trump likes countries that, quote, step up. Forced organ harvesting, forced labor, and overseas repression. These are among the Chinese regime's human rights abuses highlighted by U.S. government agency. Congressional Executive Commission on China released its annual report today on China's human rights record called Promises Made, Promises Broken. It highlights human rights abuses, including the expansion of forced labor, systemic repression of religious and ethnic communities such as Falun Gong, Uyghurs, and Christians, and mass censorship. The year's report also dedicates a section on overseas abuses, such as harassments of rights advocates outside of China's borders, including here in America. The report concludes that the CCP's human rights violations are part of a global strategy to intimidate and censor people on U.S. soil. It recommends several actions for government leaders, such as restricting organ tourism, supporting victims, and developing a whole-of-government strategy against transnational repression. And still to come, storms bring heavy rains and flooding to the Pacific Northwest, and there's more wet weather on the way. Stay tuned.
Kids love it. Parents trust it.
Obviously.
Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Ganjiang Campus courses led by expert educators.
This is spectacular.
Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more.
Wow.
All while having fun.
Perfect.
Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
Now's the time to get your home ready for hosting with the holiday savings event at Mathis Home. They have over 100 dining sets in stock with the styles you like at incredible values. This set is a great deal. You get the contemporary trestle table and 4 comfy side chairs, all 5 pieces for just $6.99. And you don't have to wait. With fast and easy financing and free delivery, you can enjoy your new dining set tonight. Get the lowest prices of the year during the holiday savings event at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, I have an important message about security. Write down the number on your screen so you can call when I finish. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. This is a lock for your life insurance, a rate lock. that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. But be careful. Many policies you see do not have one. But you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. Call this number to learn more. This plan was designed with a rate lock for people on a fixed income who want life insurance that fits their budget and is simple to get. Coverage options start at $9.95 a month, less than 35 cents a day. Act now, and your rate will be locked in for life. It will never increase, guaranteed. This is lifelong coverage that can never be canceled as long as you pay your premiums, guaranteed. And your acceptance is guaranteed, with no health questions. You cannot be turned down because of your health. Call for your information kit and read about this rate lock for yourself. You'll also get a free beneficiary planner. Both are free with no obligation. Don't miss out. Call for information, then decide. Read about the 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. Don't wait. Call this number now.
Call now and you'll also get this free beneficiary planner. Use this valuable guide to record important information and your final wishes, and it's yours free just for calling. So don't wait. Call 1-800-357-4821 for your free information. That's 1-800-357-4821. There's no risk or obligation. That number again is 1-800-357-4821. That's 1-800-357-4821. 1-800-357-4821. Call now.
Welcome back. I'm Paul Graney. The Department of Homeland Security holding a press conference right now to announce a new task force in New York. Let's take a look.
Federal violations both within the United States and throughout the world. Violations include, but are not limited to, drug trafficking, money laundering, weapons trafficking, human trafficking, homicide, extortion, kidnapping, and other TCO-related violations where there is or may be a federal investigative interest. The HSTF represents the power of partnership, combining federal, state, and local resources to address these threats more effectively than any agency can alone. With me today, we have leaders from some of the partner agencies that comprise the HSTF New York. The Internal Revenue Service Criminal Investigation Division, the Drug Enforcement Administration, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, Diplomatic Security Service, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, and the United States Secret Service. First, you will hear from some of the leaders behind the formation of the HSTF New York. We will then have a brief signing ceremony followed by on-topic questions and the opportunity for pull-aside interviews. And now, I would like to turn it over to Jay Clayton, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York.
Thank you, Rick. Good afternoon. Today's announcement of our whole-of-government commitment to Homeland Security is, at its core, about public safety for all New Yorkers. New Yorkers want public safety. They want our parks, schools, subways, and streets to be both safe places and places that feel safe for our families, our children, and our visitors. At the Southern District, across the Justice Department, and across law enforcement, with our federal and state partners, we hear what New Yorkers want, and we are laser focused on delivering it for them. Crime is down, but it is still way above where it should be, particularly for our most vulnerable. And that's really what this is all about. It's about delivering public safety for the most vulnerable people in New York. It's down because of the hard work of the men and women behind me. Let me give you a few highlights over the last year. Our agencies have collectively investigated and charged murders, shootings, stabbings, sex trafficking, and narcotics distribution by Tren de Aragua, TDA, and many other brutally violent gangs. We've charged over a dozen narco-terrorists and members of state-sponsored drug cartels. We've charged multiple people with fentanyl distribution and precursor production. Gun charges, federal gun charges, are being brought at twice the rate of previous years. And most recently, we had a wide sweep of narcotics trafficking in and around Washington Square Park. The Washington Square Park effort exemplifies what we can do with a whole of law enforcement approach to public safety. A few data points. From 2020 to 2023 alone, more than 10,000 people died of fatal drug poisoning in New York City. Washington Square Park was an epicenter of this crisis. During that period, the NYPD and medical personnel responded to over 65 reports of apparent overdoses in the park. With the great men and women of the New York Police Department, the DEA, and our other federal partners, those days are behind us. This is an example that we're going to follow going forward. We look forward to making New York safer each and every day for every person in New York. I'm now going to introduce Mike Considine, the first assistant from the Eastern District of New York. Mike?
Thank you, Jay. Good afternoon. As Jay mentioned, I'm Mike Considine, first assistant U.S. attorney in Brooklyn. The United States Attorney, Mr. Nacella, is on sick leave today and sends his regrets for not being with his esteemed HSTF partners. This historic collaboration occurring with this task force strengthens our mission to defend the citizens of our districts from the transnational criminal organizations, which Jay mentioned, human smugglers, and cyber criminals who inflict tremendous damage to our country. And we've already seen remarkable results. For example, our office is prosecuting the infamous cartel leader, RCQ, Rafael Caro Quintero, who is charged with the murder of DEA agent Kiki Camarano. What's more, our collective efforts have led to the conviction of El Mayo, Ismael Zambada Garcia, co-founder of the Sinaloa cartel. He operated a continuing criminal enterprise that trafficked massive quantities of fentanyl, cocaine, and other drugs into the United States. Lastly, we are working to cut off alternate revenue streams for the Jalisco cartel, designated as a foreign terrorist organization. And to that end, we charge two individuals, Julio Cesar Montero Pinzon and Carlos Andre Rivera Varela, with providing material terrorism support through a sprawling timeshare fraud scheme targeting American citizens. A wanted poster depicting these defendants is being released today. We would be remiss if we did not also express our appreciation for all of our agency partners, those here today and those who could not be with us. We are all collectively committed to improving the quality of life for our citizens by dismantling these corrupt organizations from their very top. I may now turn over the podium to Chris Rea, Assistant Director in charge of the FBI New York Field Office.
All right, thank you, Mike. Again, I'm Christopher Rea. I'm the Assistant Director of the FBI's New York Field Office. Today, along with my colleagues, I'm proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with other federal, state, and local partners to announce the first of its kind regional New York Homeland Security Task Force. This new team was created as a deliberate response to the growing threat posed by transnational criminal enterprises and foreign terrorist organizations. And quite frankly, it's initiatives like this and this task force that have contributed to the drastic decrease in violent crime, not only here in New York City, but across the country. FBI New York has a long history disrupting gangs and other sophisticated criminal groups, specifically cartels. The threat we face today is more complex, more violent, and more interconnected than ever. Utilizing our proven Joint Terrorism Task Force model, which, as you know, is one of the most accomplished and renowned task force models in history, we are bringing the full force of the federal, state, and local government to bear against the threat by combining operational and intelligence capabilities. Additionally, with the new authorities and investigative tools granted to us after the designation of the most violent drug cartels and transnational gangs as foreign terrorist organizations, or FTOs, we will systematically and methodically dismantle these enterprises who are responsible for the pervasive trafficking of lethal drugs and weapons into our communities. Since standing up the New York HSTF earlier this year, our agents, analysts, and professional staff got right to work, and their hard work is already paying massive dividends. Today, I would like to share with you just two of the multiple high-level cases our New York HSTF have been involved in. The first one, in August 2025, our office coordinated with the Southern District of New York to charge and arrest 7 leaders and members of a violent Mexico-based drug trafficking organization for the alleged trafficking of firearms and smuggling dozens of kilograms of cocaine, meth, and fentanyl into this country. Their alleged criminality plagued our communities, even jeopardizing innocent bystanders with public rivalry shootings. Secondly, as First Assistant U.S. Attorney Considine mentioned, we are seeking information for 2 high-ranking leaders of CJNG, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. Our FBI DEA Trident Directorate has aggressively utilized those new authorities that I just mentioned, which had been previously only authorized under national security cases and our JTTF, against the new FTO designation of CJNG. As mentioned earlier, Carlos Andres Rivera Varela and Julio Cesar Montero Pinzon are wanted for allegedly providing material support to a foreign terrorist organization and money laundering conspiracy. If you recognize those charges, that foreign terrorist charge, as a charge that until now had only been available to charge through our JTTF. And now, due to the new authorities that have been granted to us, we can now charge that charge under a foreign terrorist organization. These fugitives allegedly funneled profits from a complex fraud scheme to finance CJNG in support of drug trafficking and other crimes. If you have any information related to either of these subjects, please call 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit a tip at fbi.tips.gov. Additionally, the FBI is offering a reward of up to $245,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of these fugitives. I would like to personally thank SAC Patel and SAC Chavis, as well as all the participating agencies, for their commitment to combating the persistent cartel threat and the drug distribution network. And thank you to U.S. Attorneys Clayton and U.S. Attorney Nacella for your aggressive prosecution of these critical cases. These judicial successes directly translate into taking bad guys off of our streets. Through unified partnership.
And now that was the DHS and others launching a new first ever regional task force in New York to tackle cartels, human trafficking and transnational crime. Now, it's a collaboration between the DHS, the FBI, the NYPD and others to deliver public safety for the most vulnerable in New York. Officials, as you heard, touting previous arrests for narco trafficking, fentanyl distribution and fentanyl precursor production. We'll keep you up to date on that. Now, still to come, Eileen Higgins wins Miami's mayoral race and will become the city's first Democratic mayor in nearly 3 decades. How her win is giving Democrats a boost ahead of the midterms. With that and more after the break.
I was a quarterback at Hardaway High School, college first-round draft pick. On and off the field, we were taught to not show any signs of weakness. During the football season, I would stop eating. But I didn't know I was depressed. I thought that something was wrong with me. For 20 plus years was physical. We didn't have any education behind what mental health was. I started to learn it starts here first. If this is together, I'll be better as a father, as a man, and as a husband. Put the importance on your mental health. I'm not scared to talk about it anymore. The first tool is therapy. The second one is positive self-talk. And then journaling, putting your thoughts on paper. We have to redefine what being a strong man is and heal, love your mind.
I am so glad you ladies are here. You each have your own rooms. Thank you. Get settled in. I'll call you for dinner. Adopting teen sisters, it's a lot. Girls, you're gonna be late. You want breakfast? No thanks, we're good. They're always in their own world. What'd you get there? Twice the work. Twice the surprises. Just try it. But if you think of it that way, they're also twice as fulfilling. I think you should ask her yourself.
Is it okay to call you Mom?
Of course you can.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. Everyone deserves to live a full life. And with your help, together we can end hunger. Join the movement at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. But only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back. I'm Paul Graney. Democrat Eileen Higgins will be Miami's next mayor after a decisive win in a runoff election. She'll become the city's first Democratic mayor in nearly 30 years. The race was called within minutes of polls closing yesterday, with Higgins having a nearly 20-point lead over Republican Emilio Gonzalez. He's a former city manager who was backed by President Trump. Gonzalez called Higgins last night to concede and thanked supporters gathered for his watch party. The race was officially nonpartisan, and both candidates focused on affordability, corruption, and cutting spending. Higgins' win is now drawing national attention ahead of the 2026 midterms as Democrats look to build momentum in Florida. And with us now is Angie Wong, Miami Republican committeewoman and political columnist, and Mike Leon, host of the Can We Please Talk podcast and director of strategy at the Free and Equal Elections Foundation. Both of you, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us as always. Mike, you're down there in the greater Miami area. What do you put this win down to?
Well, first off, good to see everybody. I think there's a couple of things here. I think first, we're overanalyzing a 25 race and trying to think about what it'll tell us for 2026. And I'll echo this here, and I've echoed it on other shows. We don't know what voters will be thinking in 2026, so we can't really look at that. That's number one. Number two, the Miami mayor's race is really a small sliver of Miami. I think people don't understand that don't live down here. I know Angie knows this, and she's going to be nodding along, right? Because Danielle Cava is the Miami-Dade County mayor. This is the Miami mayor, which is a smaller section where are some of the towns that are included. Like, I don't live in the Miami mayor area. I live in Kendall, right, for example. So the voter turnout is the third thing I would look at this, Paul, right? Like, there's a small amount of people that voted in this process, maybe 39,000 people overall, with respect to all the registered voters. Like, it's just a small sliver and it's a small sample, but I know the big significance is that there hasn't been a Democrat elected here in over 30 years in that position itself. So I think there's a little over magnification, but as to your overall question of why she won, I think there's a myriad of factors, obviously the affordability and things like that, but I also think the low voter turnout, this, non-election cycle, this was a special runoff that a lot of people didn't know about down here. And I think those factors kind of contributed in terms of the low voter turnout and her able to win this race.
Angie, I'm sure you're glad to hear Mike Leon downplaying this a little bit, being on the Republican side. But like he said, city will have its first Democratic mayor in 30 years. What happened to the Republicans this time?
Yeah, and congratulations to Eileen Higgins. She won this fair and square. Mike is absolutely right. This is a special election. In fact, 3/4 of the city of Miami pretty much didn't even know there was an election happening. The turnout was so low. We expected that. We knew that only super voters would really come out for a race like this because of messaging. There was no urgency to actually get out and vote. Not like we saw in 2024 in November. There was absolutely no rage voting, and Trump wasn't on the ticket. So all those factors definitely came into play yesterday. Remember, the percentages don't matter here because the turnout was so low. Mike is right. Under 40,000 voters actually came out to give Eileen the win. And I think that's where, I'm sure the RNC is doing a bit of soul searching today because we were down by 5,000 votes. That's one high-rise building here in downtown Miami, if we just turned it out, that we could have made up and closed that gap. So I'm sure there's a lot of soul searching, but I'm happy to see it because this prepares us way better for the midterm elections next year. And now that we know what the problem areas are, I really do hope that leadership will take care of this and hopefully close the gap for 2026.
Always positive. Mike, I'll be honest. I was surprised to hear that Miami has had a Republican mayor for so long. These big metro areas, usually blue. What did allow Republicans to perform so well there until now?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a couple things, and Angie knows this, and my face will tell it, is that it's a Spanish-speaking community, right? Obviously, we have a lot of Cubans that have come here 90 miles away from, obviously Key West, not from Miami, but a lot of Cubans end up settling in this area. And obviously, you have a lot of Venezuelans that live in the greater Doral area outside of Miami. So there's a lot of Hispanics that are, in this community. The buzzwords and phrases around socialism and communism, the conflation of these terms, we can get into that as well. A lot of that stuff is the reason why there's more registered Republicans, in my opinion, in Miami as opposed to Democrats. It's not by a lot. And a lot of people are actually registered independents. Of the 1.2 million voters or so, the independent part of this is starting to catch up. It's almost looking, to be honest with you, Paul, a little bit like Arizona with respect to Republicans, Democrats, and registered independents. But in terms of, is that a shock? I think the bigger shock to what Angie was saying before was you saw the numbers from 2016, 20, and 24 starting to trend a little bit more, especially in Dade County, a little bit in Broward as you go further up in Palm Beach, going towards red and to Donald Trump in 24. This is a little bit of a shift. Again, a low voter turnout, a low sample size. Like Angie said, one high rise. That's very funny, Angie. One high rise in Miami, and probably Republicans could have won that. But it is a small sample. And I think a lot of people are maybe trying to say, whoa, this could be a bigger shift, right? Maybe we start to see that more of the blue pockets turn out in Florida, and Florida's back in play. I wouldn't go that far. This is such a smaller race. But to answer your question, Paul, it's not that shocking if you live down here to see a city like of Miami actually be red with respect to that race.
Mike, a lot of interesting points. I want to get back to this socialist label in just a moment, but I want to touch on something else you brought up. Angie, it is true over 70% of Miami residents identify as Hispanic. That's significant voter block. Some have put Higgins' win down to Trump's aggressive immigration policy. What are you hearing or seeing on that?
Well, I'm hearing from the left, especially lefty media, that this is rejection by the Latino community on Trump and his policies. But that's not what the maps are actually telling me. When you actually pull out a map, a victory map of yesterday's election, well, all of West Miami from Little Havana on to West Miami voted red. So they voted for the Trump-endorsed candidate, Emilio Gonzalez. Whereas the coastal areas where people like me from New York moved to and migrated from, that is completely solid blue, except for one little blip in Brickell where we turned that one red. But so, what I'm seeing is basically all the trends since the COVID years. You have a lot of Northerners moving to the coastal areas, seeking refuge in Florida. Unfortunately, they brought a lot of their policies and their voting with them. But then all the Latino communities did remain red, if not reddish. So I don't believe that the narrative that Latinos went in the other direction and started voting Democrat again. I don't actually see the data that supports that narrative that I've been seeing all over the headlines today. So that's a good thing. I don't think, I did say earlier, this could be a bellwether for the midterms, but quite honestly, the trends are kind of similar to November 2024 from my early reviews of the data. It hasn't changed all that much, but still a lot of work to do between now and November 2026.
Interesting analysis breaking down the various areas within Miami there, Angie. Thank you. Michael, I want to circle back to something you brought up. Some are describing the winner, Higgins, as a socialist. They say her win and Mamdani's win in New York are a sign that the progressive wing of the Democratic Party isn't going away anytime soon. How do you see it?
Well, it's a great question. Again, I don't know Eileen Higgins that well. Obviously, she's been working in Miami politics since 2018 or so. And obviously, she's a transplant. She's not from here. She's from New Mexico. She's got the label of La Gringa, as everyone has called her here. That just means the white person for people out there that don't speak Spanish. But in terms of is it a symbolic shift with respect to her and Mamdani? I got to be honest, as somebody who has seen Mamdani speak in person and has met him, and then somebody who has kind of seen Eileen Higgins, these two things couldn't be further from each other. Whether or not it's policy driven in terms of the two of them, I think there's a different aspect right now that the Democratic Party, I think, is starting to move towards. And that's more of the celebrity angle. Forget Eileen Higgins just for a second. If you look at what Jasmine Crockett now running in the Senate race, if you look at who she's going to be running against in the Democratic primary with James Tallarico, he went on Joe Rogan's show and did really well and impressed a lot of different people with respect to his policies. Then you look at Mamdani as well and the crowds that he was turning out with respect to the New York City mayor's race. I think the celebrity angle of it is starting to really carry the Democratic Party. I think they're starting to shift more into that. Who are the people that can actually shift and do things like that? Higgins was kind of a little bit of an outlier, but I think one of the things that I took away that I thought was really cool, and Angie, I don't know if you'll agree with this, Emilio Gonzalez said yesterday when he called her in the concession, he's like, I want to help you. We're going to be here to help you. And I think that that is something that I would love for American politics in general to take away is that we are conceding races when the races are over and the numbers don't bear in your favor. But also the secondary part, we all want to win together. We should all want to win together. So how do we do that and how do we move things going forward?
Fantastic analysis from both of you guys. We appreciate you as always. Angie Wong and Mike Leon, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, is holding a news conference after releases of a Fed policy decision this afternoon. Let's take a look.
Maintaining an ample supply of reserves over time, thus supporting effective control of our policy rate. I will have more to say about monetary policy and its implementation after briefly reviewing economic developments. Although some key government data have yet to be released, available indicators suggest that economic activity has been expanding at a moderate pace. Consumer spending appears to have remained solid, and business fixed investment has continued to expand. In contrast, activity in the housing sector remains weak. The temporary shutdown of the federal government has likely weighed on economic activity in the current quarter, but these effects should be mostly offset by higher growth next quarter, reflecting the reopening. In our summary of economic projections, the median participant projects that real GDP will rise 1.7% this year and 2.3% next year, somewhat stronger than projected in September. In the labor market, although official employment data for October and November are delayed, available evidence suggests that both layoffs and hiring remain low, and that both households' perceptions of job availability and firms' perceptions of hiring difficulty continue to decline. The official report on the labor market for September, the most recent release, showed that the unemployment rate continued to edge up, reaching 4.4%, and that job gains had slowed significantly since earlier in the year. A good part of the slowing likely reflects a decline in the growth of the labor force due to lower immigration and labor force participation, though labor demand has clearly softened as well. In this less dynamic and somewhat softer labor market, the downside risks to employment appear to have risen in recent months. In our SEP, the median projection of the unemployment rate is 4.5% at the end of this year and edges down thereafter. Inflation has eased significantly from its highs in mid-2022, but remains somewhat elevated relative to our 2% longer-run goal. Very little data on inflation have been released since our meeting in October. Total PCE prices rose 2.8% over the 12 months ending in September, and excluding the volatile food and energy categories, core PCE prices also rose 2.8%. These readings are higher than earlier in the year as inflation for goods has picked up, reflecting the effects of tariffs. In contrast, disinflation appears to be continuing for services. Near-term measures of inflation expectations have declined from their peaks earlier in the year, as reflected in both market and survey-based measures. Most measures of longer-term expectations remain consistent with our 2% inflation goal. The median projection in the SEP for total PCE inflation is 2.9% this year and 2.4% next year, a bit lower than the median projection in September. Thereafter, the median falls to 2%. Our monetary policy actions are guided by our dual mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. At today's meeting, the committee decided to lower the target range for the federal funds rate by a quarter percentage point to 3.5 to 3.75%. In the near term, risks to inflation are tilted to the upside and risks to employment to the downside, a challenging situation. There is no risk-free path for policy as we navigate this tension between our employment and inflation goals. A reasonable base case is that the effects of tariffs on inflation will be relatively short-lived, effectively a one-time shift in the price level. Our obligation is to make sure that a one-time increase in the price level does not become an ongoing inflation problem. But with downside risks to employment having risen in recent months, the balance of risks has shifted. Our framework calls for us to take a balanced approach in promoting both sides of our dual mandate. Accordingly, we judged it appropriate at this meeting to lower our policy rate by a quarter percentage point. With today's decision, we have lowered our policy rate 0.75 of a percentage point over our last 3 meetings. This further normalization of our policy stance should help stabilize the labor market while allowing inflation to resume its downward trend toward 2% once the effects of tariffs have passed through. The adjustments to our policy stance since September bring it within a range of plausible estimates of neutral and leave us well positioned to determine the extent and timing of additional adjustments to our policy rate based on the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. And that
was the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell announcing a new interest rate cut. We will have more analysis on that for you later on how it will impact you. Now, the Justice Department is suing Minneapolis public schools for what it says is racial discrimination against teachers. The department's Civil Rights Division filed a lawsuit against the school district. The DOJ pointed to the district's collective bargaining agreement with a teachers' union. According to the lawsuit, the agreement favors teachers who are members of, quote, an underrepresented population. The DOJ accuses Minneapolis public schools of seeking to increase staffing of Black, Indigenous, and people of color to at least 40% by 2026. The suit also alleges that the district awards benefits and conditions to members of a third-party organization called Black Men Teach Fellows. The DOJ says those terms are not offered to female or non-Black teachers. In bringing the suit, Attorney General Pam Bondi said, quote, discrimination is unacceptable in all forms, especially when it comes to hiring decisions. And the U.S. Navy says it's recovered 2 aircraft that crashed into the South China Sea while flying off the USS Nimitz in October. An unmanned system was used to lift both the fighter jet and helicopter out of the water. No official cause was given for the crashes, which occurred within 30 minutes of each other during routine operations. All crew members were rescued. The Navy says it was crucial to recover the wreckage because it contained U.S. intelligence info, which could be detrimental if it fell into the wrong hands. China asserts ownership over almost all of the South China Sea in defiance of an international court ruling. And the U.S. is doubling down on its alliance with Japan following the country's escalating tensions with the Chinese Communist Party. Japan is flagging joint drills by China and Russia involving bombers near its airspace, calling them a show of force against the country. NTD's Melina Weiskup reports.
Japan says it has grave concerns about Russian bombers joining Chinese bombers in joint patrols near Japanese airspace.
The repeated joint bomber flights by both countries signify an expansion and intensification of activities around our nation, and we cannot but view them as a show of force against Japan.
The incident follows a string of dangerous encounters. Over the weekend, Japan said it responded to an airspace violation. A Chinese aircraft carrier aimed its radar at Japanese planes.
The Chinese side conducted intermittent radar lock-on for approximately 30 minutes. We will continue to strongly demand that the Chinese side prevent any recurrence of such dangerous actions.
The U.S. has since doubled down on its alliance. The U.S. State Department stating, China's actions were not conducive to regional peace and stability. Our commitment to our ally, Japan, is unwavering, and we are in close contact on this and other issues. The rising tensions comes after Japan's prime minister last month doubled down on support for Taiwan. In the case of a Chinese attack on Taiwan, the prime minister said it could trigger a potential military response from Tokyo. Beijing has already retaliated against Japan economically. The CCP has encouraged Chinese tourists against traveling to Japan, canceling more than 40% of Japan-bound flights scheduled from China. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
And Italian cuisine earns UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage status. The Hindu festival of Diwali and Iceland's swimming pool culture make the list as well.
If you're out there and you're watching this message, we need your help and we need it now. This is a typical day at the outpatient department. Every day, we see very many cases of children with severe pneumonia. All these children need to be seen, and they all need to be seen today. This is baby Priscilla. She's 7 months old. When a child has pneumonia, you really need to move quick. This is like an infection in the baby's lungs. It really hurts for this child to be breathing. It feels like someone is squeezing your chest. If Priscilla doesn't get antibiotic treatment, it could lead to death.
We need your support right now to help save children's lives like Priscilla's. Please call or go online to givetosave.org and give just $10 a month, only 33 cents a day. You can help us provide life-saving medicines, food, and essentials to children in the most need.
The problem we have is we simply do not have enough medicine. It's very heartbreaking to see a child suffer like this.
Please help children like Priscilla before it's too late. All we need are 1,000 monthly donors. Please call or go online with your monthly gift of just $10, only 33 cents a day. Your donation today can help secure additional grants, which can multiply the impact of your support up to 10 times. And when you call with your credit card, we will send you this Save the Children tote bag as a thank you for your support.
With your help, we can save more lives. So please help us.
Your small monthly donation of just $10 could be the reason a child survives. Please call or go online to givetosave.org to help save lives.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back-in-stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get our MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regular $119.98, only $29.88. Once they're gone for good. How about our My Towels? They're finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And for the first time and the only time ever, Get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and designer gusset. Queen $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the best offers ever. Quantities are extremely limited, so order now.
Welcome back. I'm Paul Graney. A new exhibition in Bologna details the life and career of Michelangelo. Rare sculptures, drawings, and original letters by the Italian master highlight the artist's connection to the city. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the details.
In the galleries of Palazzo Fava, the Madonna of the Stairs, Michelangelo carved the piece in 1491 when he was still a teenager. Study on a draped figure hangs nearby. The new exhibition is entitled Michelangelo in Bologna.
The exhibition aims to be very narrative because these are like two stories from the same biography, that of Michelangelo, which is rich, varied, and long, having lived to the age of 89. So we find him as a young debutante and relatively serene in this first year in Bologna. We find him, however, much more tired and tormented as a 30-year-old.
The first part of the exhibition focuses on Michelangelo's arrival in Bologna in 1494. He arrived in the city at only 20 years old, fleeing political instability in Florence. At the time, he was commissioned for 3 statues for the Ark of San Domenico and the Basilica of San Domenico.
An experience in Bologna born of trauma, the fear that the different political regime was hostile and dangerous to him. However, it soon became a work experience when Aldrovandi secured for him what was perhaps the most prestigious commission possible for a young sculptor in Bologna.
The exhibition moves to Michelangelo's work from 1506 to 1508. By that time, he was already an established sculptor.
The second stay is important because he must regain the favor of Pope Julius II. There had been a disagreement between the two of them. Michelangelo suddenly left Rome because of how he had been treated by the pontiff. And at this point, in the end, Julius II called him to Bologna, recently conquered by his army.
The exhibition also includes correspondence between Michelangelo and his brother Buonarrota in Florence. The letter provides a glimpse into the artist's daily life, struggles, and aspirations. The exhibition, Michelangelo and Bologna, runs at Palazzo Fava until February 15, 2026. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
And staying in Italy, UNESCO has recognized Italy's national cuisine as intangible cultural heritage. The UN's formal recognition honors the culture's cooking tradition. Italy made the list after a UNESCO meeting in New Delhi. The Hindu festival of Diwali and the swimming pool culture in Iceland also earned recognition. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said in a statement, quote, "This is a distinction that can only make us proud." Industry groups hope that the UNESCO recognition will boost tourism as well. And still to come, the chair of the Nobel Committee asks Nicolas Maduro to leave power. That's as Venezuela's opposition leader is awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for her work to restore democracy in this South American country. We have that and more after the break.
Looking for a healthy and smooth-tasting brew? Drop by Days Coffee Roasters today and explore our wide selection of specialty-grade, small-batch roasted coffee. Home to North America's first enzyme-fermented coffee, we source a wide selection of specialty-grade coffee beans from around the world, and our baristas are ready to craft your customized brew. Visit Days Coffee at 28 North Street, Middletown, New York. Come experience a brew like no other.
When they learn something new and you can just see in their faces, it's such an incredible moment. It's those moments that are my favorite.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, I have an important message about security. Write down the number on your screen so you can call when I finish. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. This is a lock for your life insurance, a rate lock that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. But be careful. Many policies you see do not have one. But you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. Call this number to learn more. This plan was designed with a rate lock for people on a fixed income who want life insurance that fits their budget and is simple to get. Coverage options start at $9.95 a month, less than 35 cents a day. Act now, and your rate will be locked in for life. It will never increase, guaranteed. This is lifelong coverage that can never be canceled as long as you pay your premiums, guaranteed. And your acceptance is guaranteed, with no health questions. You cannot be turned down because